This week I was reading about helicopters, and the biggest cause of helicopters crashing is that the pilot can't control the main rotor blade spinning in the same direction as the tail rotor blade. And I kind of thought that's how my life feels like. If I am able to keep my blade spinning with God's blade, then things go smoothly and life gets better. But if I start going in an opposite direction to where God's taken me, then I'm more likely to spin out and crash out and go in the wrong direction. And so to keep my eyes on Jesus means that God's peace then comes into my life. Hi, I'm Rachel. I was born in Essex, and when I was 18 months old, we moved to the south of France, and we'd go to church there and drive about an hour because we were in the mountains. And then when I was 7 or 8, we moved back to England, and I'd get picked on at school for being French, even though I wasn't. But at the time we joined Mendlesham Christian Fellowship, which then moved to Debenham and became the Forge. And I learnt that God loved me and accepted me for who I was, and that gave me peace through those times. Later on in life, I went through various traumatic experiences, and that led to a diagnosis of PTSD and the symptoms that came with that. And a large part of that was really severe anxiety. The anxiety affected me in a lot of ways. I remember just trying to leave the house. I would throw up sometimes, I'd get nausea, I'd get very dizzy, I'd get flashbacks where my mind would take me back to those events and I could no longer feel myself in the present. And I started making a series of bad decisions to try and cope because I just felt really lost. Well, I drifted from my faith through everything that happened, and I just felt like God was calling me back again. So I started praying more, reading Bible studies. So memorising verses is a way that I'll experience God's peace, because then I can be reminded of them when I need them. And I have a friend that sometimes sends me Bible verses, and she sent me Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. So I save verses as little memes, and I have an album in my phone where I'll flick through them when I need them, and then I can read them. And eventually I felt God telling me I needed to be part of a church and to go back to a church. But because leaving the house was so difficult, I had to pray on that, and it just kept coming up, like, you need to join a church, you need to be part of a church. And so I asked a friend to help me get to church, and he came along with me so that I wasn't on my own, and he understood anxiety, and he was very supportive of me. And so I started coming back to the Forge and attending services there. And somehow when service started, I would just feel that peace just wash over me. And occasionally I'd get triggers, or my anxiety would flare up and I'd find it hard to focus on the service. But because I felt God telling me I needed to be part of a church, I just persisted in attending, and with time that got easier. There's loads of people at the Forge who have just helped me so much through that. I'd probably be here quite a long time thanking them all. Because I'm creative, I'm very visual, and so I often get sort of visions. And when I was really struggling and really depressed, I used to get this vision that it was like I was drowning in sort of dark water and it was cold and it felt like I was screaming and no one could hear me. And that vision kind of kept coming up and haunting me. And one time when I was praying, I could see that darkness of drowning, but I felt Jesus' hand reaching down and lifting me out of that. And I just knew that I wasn't alone through it and that Jesus had seen everything that had happened, and he knew me, and I just sensed from that I would be lifted out of it. And I guess, for me, it's sometimes God's peace will just wash over us, and it's that peace beyond understanding. But often I've had to reach out to God and ask for God's help through prayer, through reading the Bible, through other people, and also through therapy and different specialists helping me. So a big part for me was getting to know God and what God's like, and also reading about Jesus and what Jesus was like and how Jesus lived. And the more I get to know Jesus, the more I know I can trust him, because he's loving, he's forgiving, and wants the best for me, but not just for me. He wants the best for me and for everyone. And I think that was what gave me the most hope, was that by going through difficulties and letting God work in my life, then maybe I could help just one person, and that to me would make it all worthwhile. And because I used to pray for a miracle, that the anxiety would just disappear and my health problems would disappear, and that didn't happen. But I started feeling like maybe that was a selfish thing to ask for, just because if that happened, then I wouldn't have the understanding of how to support and help others. Just to be able to turn a difficult situation into something that has purpose through God means everything to me. God's peace, just there's no words to explain it. It's it changes everything. I'm at a loss for words for how to describe God's peace. Without it, I don't think I'd be alive.